Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amid its chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday. It is July 1st. Can you believe it? We are halfway through the year, basically, 2025. And we are here with you live, ready to go over the big, beautiful bill, the version passing through the Senate. Now it goes back to the House, but not so fast. That July 4th deadline that President Trump gave Congress to pass this bill may not happen if shenanigans start in short order, which very well may be the case. So we're going to get into that. We're going to try to distill down some of the changes the Senate made to this big, beautiful bill. They made some good changes. Some say the bill is better. Some say it's worse. We'll try to figure it out together coming up. Plus, Elon Musk has lashed out again regarding the big, beautiful bill. He has donated to Thomas Massey's campaign. He has said that Steve Bannon is going to go to jail for a long, long time. And President Trump says maybe Doge will look into Elon because a lot of his companies are getting subsidies from our government to, do work for the government. So it's getting a little nasty. Elon Musk, I am convinced, has some sort of emotional disorder. Something is going on with this dude. I don't know exactly what it is, but, these geniuses, sometimes they aren't, they don't have common sense. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get to that story. Plus, potentially, let me first get this bigger story. Alligator Alcatraz opened today in the Florida Everglades. We may be able to join Ed Zoll live on location. We'll see if he's able to do it or not toward the latter part of the show. He is allegedly there on the ground at Alligator Alcatraz. And so we might be able to bring you a report live on location toward the latter part of the show. We're going to go about 2 hours. And if he's not available by then we'll just have to punt on that. So we'll talk about Alligator Alcatraz. We'll talk about potentially no more illegal immigrants counted in the census, possibly. Did you know that they are counted in the census? They are, which is, if you want to talk about strategy, that's how you change the congressional makeup of various states. There's people that say California would have like 5 less congressmen or women if illegals weren't counted in the census. It also affects the way that the electoral college is divided up and how many electoral college votes you get. So it absolutely has ramifications, even if illegal immigrants aren't voting, but you know that Democrats want them to, but they are counted in the census. We've got an effort underway, finally, to put that to an end. So we'll talk about that. Plus, we will have special guest attorney Seth Woodall joining us in the second hour to talk to us about this Supreme Court ruling that came down right after we went off the air last week regarding these district court injunctions. Okay, so we got a lot to get to, my friends. If you want to help us out in the algorithm, boy, would we appreciate it. You can heart this post on X and repost right now. That helps us, as well as over on Rumble. You can give us a thumbs up and repost there as well, and then thumbs up on all the other platforms on TikTok. Double tapping and sharing is a big help. So please do that right now. We need your help in the algorithm, especially on X right now. X and Rumble really need it. So please give us a little bit of help there. If you want to support this program, we are 100% funded by patriots like you. No one is telling us what to say or what not to say. And you can help in the mission to bring critical thinking back to America by giving via Cash App or Venmo. Our unique links are set up there at IkeReport.com, IkeReport.com. And keep your comments coming in the chat. We want to have a lot of chat happening today, and we will get to some of your comments. I see it is already lively over on Rumble with One Theater, Bree, Rocky, Michelle, and more. So keep the chat going all throughout the show. So we get into the big, beautiful bill there in the Senate today. And it was passed by one vote, tie-breaking vote, Vice President J.D. Vance.
Vote. The yeas are 50. The nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
There it goes. I mean, 24 hours, I believe. You got a lot of these senators kind of crying like, I didn't get to go on vacation. Well, do your job. I mean, I can't believe how whiny they get when they have to work for a little while. I mean, seriously, they're literally whining. You had John Fetterman. Oh, I missed my entire family beach vacation. Well, maybe schedule it some other time. And, you had Tom Tillis out of North Carolina saying, he was going to miss he was missing his family vacation. I mean, cry me a river. I don't give a crap that you're missing your family vacation. Yeah, okay. With all of the absolute on the calendar days off that you have in Congress, where you're working for 2 weeks, you're off for 2 weeks, you work for 3 weeks, you're off for a week, you're off for 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. I mean, you think you can plan your vacations then? Not when we're right in the middle of trying to get this crap done. And we're supposed to feel bad for them. I mean, I don't know about you, but due to the out of control spending and terrible policies, not a whole lot of people have been taking a lot of great vacations. Most Americans can't afford a vacation right now. So stop your belly aching, shut your face, and get on with your job is what I have to say about it. Okay. And so the no's on this big, beautiful bill from Republicans were Susan Collins, Tom Tillis, and Rand Paul. Now, there was a big fight that broke out between President Trump and Tom Tillis on social media. President Trump threatening to support the primary challenger for Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis has now announced he is no longer going to be seeking re-election. Yeah. And so these are the people that voted against it. It just barely passed because of J.D. Vance's vote. He got, I think, into the chamber there at like 6:30 this morning. And what's weird is a couple other provisions in this bill. There was a 10-year federal AI moratorium where states could not enforce or limit AI through laws. Okay, so that's what was in the original Big Beautiful Bill. And once that was discovered, it's like, wait a minute, no, you have to change that. I went on what did I do? I was on Newsmax this morning. I was on Newsmax on Sunday. I was on Newsmax last week and said that AI moratorium needed to be stripped. But everyone voted in favor of stripping it. 99 senators, which means all the Democrats voted in favor with Republicans to strip that. I mean, come on, states' rights, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? But not to Tom Tillis. He voted against it. He was the one no vote against stripping the bill of this moratorium. Basically, for 10 years, states could not enforce any law against AI. They couldn't regulate it. I mean, I am all about less government, less regulation, less red tape. But if there's anything that I believe should be heavily regulated, it is AI. Tom Tillis apparently didn't think so. I don't know what's going on with this dude. I'm really not sure. What else happened? By a vote of 49-51, the Senate rejected an amendment. The Democrats tried to create an amendment last night to fund Planned Parenthood, but the Senate rejected that just barely, 51-49. And there you see the activity there on the floor. I thought there was audio with this, but apparently it's just room noise.
Yeas are 51.
Here we go.
On this vote, the yeas are 49, the nays are 51. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to.
All right, so the Democrats tried to just muck this thing up, something serious, all night last night. Of course, we had Chuck Schumer creating the scenario where every word of the bill, it took 16 hours to read every last jot and tittle of this thing. They did everything they possibly could to wear everyone down. It didn't work. It got passed. Try again. Try again. If you want to see what we're showing you on the screen, follow us over to X or Rumble if you're watching on TikTok. And okay, yeah, I've got a lot of good chat going on. So Elon Musk has had one of his episodes since the discussion of this big, beautiful bill has, gotten to a fever pitch. And it's like he went away from tweeting about politics for like 3 weeks. And then last night just went into overdrive tweeting about it. And as part of that, he started throwing shade all over the place, like on Steve Bannon. Now, Bannon says the reason why Musk doesn't want this bill to pass is because of the electric vehicle mandates that were removed. Elon claims he doesn't care about any mandates at all. He just does not want more spending. Okay, so somebody named Merrick Lackner on your screen there tweeted Bannon wants to nationalize SpaceX. Elon Musk tweeted Bannon is going back to prison, this time for a long time. I mean, remember Elon Musk said the reason why the Epstein files weren't released was because of Trump. Remember that? And then he deleted that tweet. I mean, he is acting like a very childish teenager without any self-control over his emotions. Maybe he'll delete that one. But what does he mean? What is he talking about? Steve Bannon going back to jail for a long time. I'm not, an apologist for Steve Bannon. I'm just wondering, that's a pretty specific claim. What the heck are you talking about? And so, it's heating up where Trump was asked before he went to Alligator Alcatraz this morning about deporting Elon Musk. Will you deport Elon Musk? Here's what he said.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out.
All right, so they asked him about, are you going to deport Elon? Now, I've noticed this is Trump's new response. It may not be that new, but it's becoming more common where if he doesn't want to answer, he says, we'll take a look at that. It's a good answer. It's not dismissing it outright. It's leaving it open, but it's not getting specific on any action. You could tell it wasn't, something he thought about. He twisted or pivoted the answer then to become the subject of Doge looking into Elon and all his subsidies. But literally, a reporter asked if you're going to deport Elon. And he's like, what? So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's any grounds for doing that. But Elon is now advocating for a third political party, the America Party. And he's basically said if this bill passes, it is done. He is doing it. I would say to you, good luck with that. It's not going to work. I know everybody wants it to work, but all it's going to do is it's going to hurt the Republican Party and give Democrats more power. Yeah, unless you have two new parties that split everybody off, it ain't going to happen. At least it's not going to be the intended result that he thinks it's going to be, where everyone's going to, I mean, to launch and grow and be effective with a new party is such an uphill battle. I mean, that's understating it. I know it sounds good, but Elon is just kind of going nuts. Patriot Grandma on X says that Elon needs to get back on his meds. Needs to get back on its meds. Yeah. Michelle says Elon is a U.S. citizen. Did he become, in fact, a U.S. citizen? That makes sense to me. I know he came here, I believe, on an H-1B visa. Michelle says AI definitely needs regulation. Rocky says, I think we need smaller bills. Yeah, I wish they would have done a smaller bill. They thought about doing two bills. Why they did this is so they could put the tax cuts with things that maybe moderates wouldn't vote for. They put stuff in there that moderates maybe wouldn't have voted for, like, I don't know, spending at the border or defense spending. That way they could sort of, ensnare them with, hey, you voted against the tax cuts. And so that's one of the strategies. I mean, that is a strategy that's used a lot of times for pork bills. So, I don't like that strategy at all. I understand you wanted to get a bunch of stuff done at one time and you put it all in there. I get it. My preference would be that they are smaller bills. Bree says it's, let's be honest, that's normal. Americans work twice as many hours as they ever will in Congress. Michelle says we all miss things. We all have to miss things because we work. Penny says, yes, that the taxpayers are paying for, I'm sure. Yeah, their vacation. So Michelle says she'll do a $47 match for President Trump. 47. If you want to double your contribution, basically, anybody that gives up to $47, Michelle says she'll do a $47 match. For it'll be doubled. Cash App or Venmo right now at IkeReport.com. Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. Thank you, Michelle, for offering the match there. Okay, what else did I miss? Patriot says smaller bills would be nice, but it would take forever. Jen says with Elon starting a new political party, it's a good idea. However, it's going to be a bigger deal than he thinks. Agreed. Jen says, I completely agree. The bills need to be split up. It's too much and too easy to end up agreeing with something you wouldn't to get the stuff that you would. Yeah, they call that compromise. Right? It's almost 1,000 pages. Insane. All right. So keep the double taps coming over on TikTok. Thumbs up on Rumble right now, please, and repost. And then over on X, please heart this post and repost. Please do that right now, please. All right. So Stephen Miller is chiming in on this bill and saying that it cuts more spending than the House bill. He says the Senate bill cuts more spending than the House bill. The change in the score, I guess the conservative score maybe, is from further extending the tax cuts. The bill passed with a 0-vote margin. The most conservative senators backed the bill and worked to get the max spending cuts that could pass their chamber. So Stephen Miller is sort of giving his take on it. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, has given her take in what I would call just an unhinged liberal rant. But take a look.
Leaving the Senate now. At the end of the vote,
By the way, I mean, I'm just waiting for her to cry. Like she's got her cry face on.
when the Republicans won, they cheered.
Her Native American name is Hot Air Big Cry.
They cheered over taking away health care from around 17 million people. They cheered over giving huge tax breaks to a handful of billionaires.
I mean, you can just start counting the lies, right? I mean, how many lies are we up to by now? Hold on. I think we got two lies. 17 million people without medical care. Tax cuts just for a handful of billionaires.
They cheered over running up the national debt by another $3.5 trillion.
Now, obviously, the debt is a big deal, but when you pass a tax cut, you have to have the room in the debt ceiling because the way that these tax cuts are looked at every time is debt, even though they don't necessarily end up in debt. Okay, but they want to tell you, and this is why with Elon, it's like, Elon, you can't do a massive spending cut in this bill. The rules don't adhere to that for this type of legislation. We're talking about mandatory spending, not discretionary. And you've got to do those in separate bills. You just do. Now, I understand the promise of, we'll do that later. That rarely ever works, right? But that's just the rules, man. Them's the stakes. And the same thing with this debt ceiling. I don't want any more debt, but in order to pass the tax cuts, you have to have the room in the debt limit to be able to have the tax cuts. Now, the theory, the strategy, and it worked last time, is you do the tax cuts and you're actually bringing in more revenue. Even though the tax rates are lower, you are boosting the economy. People are making more money, more people are working, and more people are paying taxes. And so you're paying a smaller percentage of your income in taxes, but you're making more. And so we actually brought in about $100 billion more the following year after the previous Trump tax cuts. By 2019, it was $160 billion in more revenue per year than before the tax cuts. And so the idea is that would happen again. And hopefully, I mean, I definitely won't advocate for adding more debt. You've got 1.2 to 1.8 trillion in cuts over 10 years. You got to have more cuts on that discretionary spending for sure. But to say that they're just doing this to drive up the debt is disingenuous. It's not honest.
This bill, it's bad. It's bad economically. It's bad morally. This bill is just wrong. But we stay in the fight. We stay in the fight. We stay in the fight. And we proved why we stay in the fight, because actually there are pieces of this bill that we got better. We got the tax on solar and wind knocked out, and that's going to help with clean energy. We got a few different pieces and made them better. So that's reason number one. It's always the reminder. All of those calls matter. Reason number two is it's still not over. The bill has now got to go back over to the House. And there are a lot of Republicans who are feeling really squeamish about this bill at this point. So that means we got to stay in the fight. And reason number three is, they may do this now, but come November 2026, they're going to have to face the voters. They're going to have to face the people, the families of the people whose health care they took away. And they're going to have to explain exactly what they just did just now on the floor of the United States Senate and whatever they do next. So this is hard, but damn, we stay in the fight. We stay in it, not because it's an easy fight, not because we're guaranteed to win every time. We stay in it because it's the right fight.
Okay. Big Lie Hot Air has spoken. Probably about 10 lies in that little, I don't know, crocodile tear tirade that you just had there. Going to have to face the people in November of 2026. All the people you took away their Medicaid, their medical care. You probably killed people. Yes, every time I rang the bell. Every time a bell rings, Elizabeth Warren's telling a lie. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. No? Anyway, those who know. So that's the response. I mean, what is it about liberal women that the more liberal they are, the more like a dude they look? What is with that? There's something in the water. Fluoride. I don't know what it's doing, but it's evident. It's clear. You could see it there. Okay. So what else do we need to know about this big, beautiful bill? Well, Congressman from Tennessee, Andy Ogles, is saying he has declared war on the Senate parliamentarian. The parliamentarian was being a total turd the entire time. Obviously, they worked it out. This morning on Newsmax, I asked, why isn't the majority leader Thune holding, an overturned vote on this, rejecting this? Because you want to talk about people being there so long, well, you could speed it up. But anyway, the parliamentarian caused a lot of wording to change. I don't have, a direct list of every single thing that actually got changed because of this Senate parliamentarian who was hired by Harry Reid. They could fire her, yes. The only other time I have been able to find that she has done anything was during the Biden American Recovery Act with the $15 minimum wage. She, deemed that was against the rules or whatever. Otherwise, I haven't really seen her do anything that I know of. Now, the parliamentarian, historically, though, on rejecting things or whatever, has primarily been against Republicans over the last 20 years. Andy Ogles says, I don't work for the Senate parliamentarian. I work for the people. And he has now filed an amendment to delete the Senate dud bill and replace it with the House bill. What do you think about this? He wants to delete that bill. Now, if that happened, it would have to go back to the Senate, I believe. I don't know the procedure exactly, but it's certainly, we're looking at this July 4th date. Now, this is an arbitrary date. It'd be nice if it was done by then. I know President Trump wants it done by then. It doesn't have to be done by then, but we need to get it right, but we don't need this to drag on forever and ever and ever for no good reason. So what do you think about Andy Ogles? He is a conservative. He has said, I don't work for the Senate parliamentarian. I work for the people. And he's filed this amendment to delete the Senate dud bill and replace it with the House bill. You already have Stephen Miller saying it actually is better. There's more cuts in it. You got the AI moratorium out. But what exactly are we looking at here with this bill? All right, so I've asked Grok to help us here, okay? And so some of it you don't know, right? Let's see if I can. All right, this is going to be difficult. Okay. Okay. Key Senate amendments. Medicaid and welfare adjustments. Stricter work requirements. The Senate amended it to impose stricter work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents on Medicaid and SNAP, requiring 80 hours of work per month starting in December of 2026. I think there was only 40 hours in the House version. Medicaid re-enrollment frequency, they changed that to require re-enrollment every 6 months instead of annually like the House version. And additional income and residency verification processes. Also, provider tax reduction. The Senate deepened the phased reduction of the Medicaid provider tax from 6% to 3.5% by 2031, compared to a less aggressive House proposal. Added a $25 billion rural hospital. You love to say that word, don't you? Rural added a $25 billion rural hospital fund to offset impacts, which was not in the House bill. So you add a little bit of money there on there. Okay, second area of modifications in the tax policy, the child tax credit. They reduced the tax credit increase to $2,200 per child compared to the House's version, which was $2,500. And then the SALT deduction, that was a big rub, the state and local tax deduction. Basically, the state and local taxes you pay, you could deduct them from federal taxes that you had to pay. The Trump 1.0 tax cuts did not allow, I don't believe, for any SALT deductions. If they were minimal, which in states that have very high state and local taxes, like liberal states, they did not experience the tax cut in less taxed states because they didn't have that concern about the state and local tax deduction from federal taxes. Well, the House's increase of the state and local tax deduction cap to $40,000 for married couples with incomes up to $500K, but limited it to 2030. Okay, so the change here, there's not really a change except for the sunset on this thing. The House version made this a permanent thing. On temporary deductions, the Senate version made the $1,000 standard deduction increase. I have a parentheses, but I don't have a closed parentheses. Oh, here we go. All right. So it made the $1,000 standard deduction increase and the $25,000 tip wage, $12,000, $500 overtime pay deductions temporary through 2028 with phase outs for higher earners, $150K for individuals, $300K for couples, aligning with but slightly modifying the House provision. So they made the no tax on tips and overtime pay temporary through 2028. That's not that great. I mean, that's just a couple years then. All right, then we got border security. They made some funding adjustments. They reduced funding for customs and border protection facilities to $5 billion. It was $6 billion in the House version. They still have the same $46.5 billion for the border wall, so no change happened there. And then on the energy and environment, the tax credit phase out. Is this boring the crap out of you? You guys with me? I'm giving you the nuts and bolts, man. You wanted this thing, right? The energy and environment section, tax credit phase out. They extended the phase out of wind, solar, and geothermal tax credits for projects starting construction in 2026 or 2027, softening the House's immediate elimination. So they got an extra 2 years for tax credits for wind, solar, and geothermal. They struck provisions easing environmental regulations and deeming offshore oil and gas projects compliant with NEPA as they violated the Byrd Rule. Okay, so this is something that the parliamentarians screwed. The provisions easing environmental regulations for offshore oil and gas. They removed that AI regulation ban. They eliminated provisions defunding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and limiting its judicial enforcement powers as they violated the rules. SNAP adjustments. They modified SNAP by prohibiting cost increases to the Thrifty Food Plan and adjusting state cost sharing slightly more restrictive than the House version. Okay, they modified SNAP by prohibiting cost increases. Okay, and then title removal. They struck the bill's title for violating reconciliation rules. Other Byrd rule removals. This is how the parliamentarian was striking things under this Byrd rule. Okay. Several House provisions were removed due to the Senate's Byrd rule, limiting reconciliation bills to budgetary matters. So they struck defunding Planned Parenthood. They struck banning federal funding for general affirming care, and they struck certain immigration restrictions like SNAP eligibility bans for non-citizens, and struck environmental regulation rollbacks. Okay, so they'll have to do those in a separate bill, allegedly. We just showed you, I thought we did, maybe we didn't show you that clip where, the Senate voted against funding Planned Parenthood. I don't know if this is AI that's slightly after that vote or what, because they voted on it separately as an amendment. The Senate version increased the estimated debt impact to 3.9 to 4 trillion through 2034, which the House's version was 3 trillion, largely due to deeper Medicaid cuts and temporary tax provisions. So this says it added a trillion to the deficit in the next 10 years compared to the House version of 3 trillion, so 4 trillion. Okay, so that is the gist of it. Okay, so the final bill text was not available when I ran this model, and so subject to change. Okay, subject to change. That's generally what we know. All right, so let me see what you're saying real quick. Michelle says no SNAP for you. And they're hoping a Democrat's in the White House by 2028. Rocky says, I don't like that either. Trump ran on that. Why not have it permanent? I think you're talking about the no tax on tips and overtime. So if you have dependents, you don't have to work now. No, I mean, there's always been a child dependent tax credit. They just increased it a little bit. David Sling, my opinion is just pass the freaking bill and go back to work to deny illegals Medicaid later. There is definitely some wisdom in saying, you're fighting, you live to fight another day. I understand the other side of that argument where people don't trust Congress to actually follow up with these things. The good thing is, think about it this way, to David Sling's point, you're 6 months in, not even, to the Trump administration. Okay, now you talk about midterms coming up, but you keep the pressure on, and it's still early enough before midterms that, they should be able to have plenty of time to go back and do what needs to be done on some of these specific issues. They're not going to do much of anything in certain months. I think August, they take the whole month off, don't they? Or something like that. Anyway, but there's still plenty of time this year to get a lot of this stuff done. Michelle says, liberal women are the worst. Cap Hill says, she lied a lot. Rocky says, dude looks like a lady. Talking about Pocahontas there. All right, so when we look at Trump's approval rating inside the Republican Party, he's never done better. He had a huge week last week. Even on CNN, Michael Smerconish was saying, he was on a roll. Yeah, even some liberals are finally telling the truth about this because it's just kind of like you can't deny it. But take a look at the approvals inside the Republican Party compared to July of 2017.
Approved number. So this isn't just Republicans who like Donald Trump. This is Republicans who love Donald Trump, and he's up like a rocket. Look at this. In July 2017, the strongly approved was 53%. That's pretty good. But look at where he is now. 63% of Republicans strongly approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing about 5 months into his presidency. Republicans love Donald Trump the way that Americans love Disney World. The bottom line is 63%. That is a huge, huge base. And of course, it's just part of a Republican base in which about 90% of them overall approve of him, including the somewhat approves as well.
I mean, every politician would like this number here, especially to see it go up. How about compared to other presidents who were Republicans?
Yeah, it's history making. It's history making. What are we talking about here? So why don't we look back? We have all the presidents, Republican presidents, going back over the last 35, 36, 37 years. What are we talking about? GOP, who strongly approved 5 months in. Look at this. George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, 46%. Bush 43, 59. You see Trump, the first term, 53. But look at this, 63%. He beats all the other Republicans on the board here. And I was looking even back since Reagan. And get this, Donald Trump beats Ronald Reagan when it comes to the strongly approved 5 months. And of course, Reagan was coming off that high after that assassination attempt. So the bottom line is Donald Trump is making history with the Republican base. He is more beloved by this Republican base than any Republican base loved any GOP president 5 months in. It is history making.
It is a striking number. Tillis stepping down, stepping aside after President Trump threatened to primary him. The question is, how effective is Trump's endorsement? We know it can hurt, but how effective is it?
Yeah, okay. So, the bottom line is, if you're a Republican lawmaker, you see this 63%, you say, my goodness gracious, you do not want to go against Donald Trump because the Republican base is with Donald Trump. And it's not just the polling. We actually have the data to show that the Republican base is with Donald Trump. The times Trump endorsees won the GOP primary for governor and congressional races. Look at this. 2024, 96%. 2022, 95%. 2020, 98%. The bottom line is this. 95% plus of the time, the Trump endorsed candidate wins in GOP primaries. And even in the cases where Donald Trump endorses a challenger to an incumbent, the majority of the time, that challenger wins. So Donald Trump is a winner in Republican primaries. You go against Donald Trump, to quote the movie Good Burger, you go in the grinder. Donald Trump is the key nugget. His endorsement is the key nugget in a GOP primary because he's historically strongly popular with the GOP
And now
base.
there's going to be a surprise primary in North Carolina, so we will be watching that, of course. Harry Enton, it is always a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right, Kate.
Trump never been stronger. I mean, how about that? Those are some pretty incredible statistics. I didn't realize it was that high. Congressional and gubernatorial races where Trump endorses 98% win rate in 2020, 95 in 2022, 96 in 2024. You don't want to bet against the Trump endorsed candidate. Man, I did not know it was that high. I thought it maybe was like 85% or something like that. That's probably because the liberal media goes nuts if there's a situation where the guy he endorses or girl he endorses doesn't win. They just make it a bigger deal than it is. Obviously, it hasn't happened very often. And so Trump is stronger inside of the Republican Party base than any Republican president in our lifetime, nearly. At least in my lifetime. Okay? So even CNN is reporting that. All right, today you've got the opening of Alligator Alcatraz in the Everglades near Miami in Florida. They have been basically, they stood this thing up in a matter of weeks. Here was some of the prep. You see all the protesters out there.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression.
All right, so you got generators, you got all these trucks going in. The liberal video here. This center will destroy the land. Oh, look at this. You get all these people saying these are like, internment camps and all kinds of fear-based crap. Again, they would rather have illegal immigrants running around committing violent crimes and murders against our people. That's what they're saying, basically. And so they stood this thing up to withstand a Category 2 hurricane, actually. I saw some troll in the chat on TikTok say, the middle class needs to band together to vote against Republicans. The interesting thing is the middle class. This is how Trump is so popular, is the middle class. And this is why the Democrat Party is disintegrating, is the middle class, the working class, the blue collar class has moved over to the Republican Party. That is what President Trump has specifically and specially galvanized when it comes to his support. So the Democrats are going to have to completely revamp their entire platform and start actually owning some of the mistakes they've made. This is the problem with Democrats, is they're not authentic. They're not genuine. They're riddled and rife with hubris. They're arrogant. They will not admit they're wrong. Now, I will say this, for as much of a weirdo as Pete Buttigieg is, he's actually recognizing and owning some of the mistakes and admitting they were mistakes. I'm not saying vote for the guy. He's a radical, but he's actually doing strategically what is necessary to reinvent the Democrat Party and try to build credibility back, if you can even call it that. But so many people are just bury head in the sand, Trump bad, Trump bad. You lost the middle class. You lost a ton of Latino voters, a ton, and young men. The Democrat Party, if they want to survive, they need to stop doing what they've been doing. All right, so you got Alligator Alcatraz happening. Part of the money used was reallocated from the lush Roosevelt Hotel, where they were housing a lot of illegal immigrants. Remember, they clawed that money back and diverted it to this facility. Obviously, the state of Florida putting up some money. The state of Florida going to make money on this, too.
We've got a massive runway right behind us where any of the federal assets that they want to fly these people back to their home country, they can do it one-stop shop.
One-stop shop, you got it all. You got the detention facility, you've got the airport. Can the federal government make good use of this?
We sure can. Talk about efficiency right then and there. But also I want to talk about the funding for this. Some of it will be paid by the state of Florida, but a lot of it will be paid by the federal government. We're actually looking at FEMA to fund this through the Shelter and Services Program, which we saw in the Biden administration. That funding was bastardized to use for places like the Roosevelt Hotel, which is the place that housed Tren de Aragua, was really the base of operations there, as well as Laken Riley's killer. So we're going to take that funding and actually house these illegal aliens before we get them out the door and out of our country.
Okay. Yeah. Diverting some of those funds. Good use of the funds rather than, putting them up in an all expense paid vacation in New York City. President Trump, Governor DeSantis on the ground confirming that Florida will now deputize National Guardsmen as immigration judges in order to fast track this deportation process. Take a look.
We're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two. So they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended. But you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
All right. So they're going to fast track it. Look, Ron and Don, about a year and a half ago, they didn't like each other very much, but look, nobody's holding a grudge. They're getting things done. Alligator Alcatraz is what they're calling this. I mean, it is a remote area surrounded by alligators and water moccasins, and it's got an airfield right there. So these abandoned airstrips seem like pretty good candidates for additional ICE deportation centers. Okay? So Alligator Alcatraz goes in Florida. It's got the airstrip right there, super convenient. It's got the security around it with the alligators and the snakes and whatever else. It's in a remote area, and you've got the facility there that's big enough to house these illegal immigrants while they're awaiting their deportation hearing. You've got deputized National Guard there fast-tracking the deportation. And then you've got the airstrip right there so they could just get on the fast track back to their home. Other places, though, are out there that might be pretty decent candidates. We looked it up. They've already announced this Camp Blanding Joint Training Center that's also in Florida. is in the process of being developed into the next ICE detention facility, also there in Florida, and believed to have an airstrip there as well. There are other options in Florida as well, though, like the Halapaugh Airport in the southeastern Orlando area. There's an airstrip there. And what else do we have in Florida? We have the Zelwyn Farms Airport in the northern Orlando area. It was an abandoned airfield back in 2011, and they still have a paved runway there. Why not? Trout Creek Naval Outlying Landing Field, which is in the southeastern Jacksonville area, a former World War II era Navy field, and was abandoned. So why not use that? What about another option? Bushnell Army Airfield in the northern Tampa area, a World War II era airfield as well. And so we've got options. This is just one state. And finally, Malabar Naval Outlying Landing Field in southeastern Orlando, also a former Navy airfield with some pretty wild-looking runways. So this is just Florida. It's already been announced that President Trump is in talks with the governor of Alabama and the governor of Louisiana about standing up ICE detention centers in those states as well. So it seems the Trump administration, through the help of these states, has just found a way to 10x the time that it takes to deport these illegal immigrants. I think it's pretty daggum smart. All right. Let's see. We are at... Okay. By the way, I posted that thread on X if you'd like to check it out, President Trump and Governor DeSantis also there on the ground at Alligator Alcatraz, saying that it's time to redo the census before the 2026 midterms. I don't know if that's going to happen. That'd have to be pretty quick. And only count Americans, not illegals. Take a look.
Are in our area, in our country, redistricting some of the House districts. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll speak for both of us. We love it. Okay, you're gonna like this one. I know all about it. We want to bring our elections back. The election in 2020 was rigged, millions and millions of votes. It had to do with COVID and a lot of things, but it really had to do with the crooked people. The Democrats are very good at cheating on elections.
Elon.
And that's why I said too big to rig. They tried this one too. But after about 9:02, they gave up too many votes, too big to rig. Ron would love it. I would love it. Christie would love it. That's what they have to do. They have to bring it back. And we have to look, Ron, they include anybody that happens to be in your state.
Well, California would lose like 5 seats if they did a fair census. And even beyond that, the Biden census gypped Florida of at least 1 seat. We only got 1 seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had 1 seat in that? We should have had at least 2. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives and the majority. So I would love for them to redo the census for 26. My legislature will redistrict those lines. We'll get it to where it's fair. But as it's right now, this country is not fairly apportioned. I've got so many more millions of people in Florida that have representation because of that flawed census.
Mr. President, I think it's going to do very well. A lot of people, I don't know if you've heard about it. It's like, it's captivated the country. Everybody wants it. It's going to get in. It's going to pass. And we're going to be.
All right. And so we keep talking about this change in the census. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has said she talked to President Trump. She has a new bill that she's introducing that will save America's elections from ever being stolen again, requiring the U.S. Census Bureau to conduct a new census immediately upon enactment of the bill. As we talked about earlier, you have illegal immigrants being counted in the census. Illegal immigrants counted in the census. And what does that do? It allows for a certain amount of delegates or representatives in Congress per state. So the voice of these liberal states is amplified in Congress. That affects everybody. You could also, throw in the Electoral College there too, as far as how many Electoral College votes they get, all based on population, and they're counting people that aren't U.S. citizens. So what Marjorie Taylor Greene is proposing here is an actual bill that will stop that. And it's just a wonder. Isn't it befuddling? It's baffling that this is even something that's been going on. But up until about the last 18 months, most people had never heard about this, did not know that it was even happening. And now it's out there, largely in part to social media like X that has put this stuff out in the forefront. And now it's coming to an end, and it can't happen soon enough. Will it happen before the 2026 midterms? I'm a little skeptical there, but it can't happen soon enough. All right. So we are going to be joined by legal analyst and owner at Seth Woodall and Associates. He's an attorney, Seth Woodall. We're going to talk to him about these nationwide injunctions and the Supreme Court ruling that came down. Ketanji Brown Jackson, in her opinion, it read like, a brain rot teenager or something. And maybe we'll get to the due process for illegal immigrants. What does that actually look like? And maybe even ask him about Tom Tillis, since he's there in North Carolina. So we're going to get to that and a whole lot more. Taking a break, and we'll be back right after this. You are watching The Ike Wingate Show. Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. One thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com. Thanks for watching the Ike Wingate Show. If you would, we are trying to spread this mission, and you could do something to help us out right now. Whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up, especially on Rumble. That helps us in the algorithm. While you're there on Rumble, hit the follow button as well. And down in the chat, when we're live, there's a little button that says subscribe. If you're watching in your browser, you'll be able to see that. Hit the button, and for $5 a month, you become an official Ike Nation subscriber. That means you get exclusive emojis, and we can read your comments a lot more easily. But the best part is you are instrumental in the fight for truth and freedom of speech. And if you want to take it even further, hit the join button and come on over to our Ike Nation Locals community. Basically, this is an online community for people just like you who want to chat, who want to sharpen one another, share different stories, all free of big tech, free speech, censorship. It's $5 a month, and by doing this, you are further supporting our mission to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. So to recap, whatever platform you're watching on, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching on X, hit the heart and retweet this post to get it out there. And then whatever other platform, hit the heart or the thumbs up or whatever the platform wants you to do. But on Rumble specifically, the best way that you can support our mission is to become a $5 a month paid subscriber right there in the live chat. If you're not seeing the subscribe button in the live chat, that means you need to watch the show on your browser. If you're watching in the mobile app, you don't see the subscribe button because then, well, Rumble would have to give part of your money to the App Store. Rumble doesn't want to do that. They want to give all of your contribution to the actual content creator, which we think is great. So, in order to do that, go out to your browser on your phone, your Safari browser, Chrome browser, whatever it is that you search the internet with, and type in rumble.com/The Ike Wingate Show. Then open the live chat. You'll see that subscribe button. Hit it there. $5 a month, recurring. You don't have to do it ever again, and you can go back to watching in the mobile app. Just one of the little things you can do to help us get to the masses as we endeavor to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, culture, and media. Thank you for being an instrumental part of this mission.
We the people will not be silenced. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
All right, welcome back in. It is Tuesday, and of course, the big, beautiful bill passed earlier in the Senate. We're going to look more about that, look more into that a little bit later, and maybe even get a live on the ground Alligator Alcatraz guest. We'll see about that. But for now, we have Seth Woodall, the legal analyst and owner at Seth Woodall and Associates, someone who's very knowledgeable about the law and politics and everything going on in our country. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's been a lot going on when it comes to legal challenges and injunctions and everything else. A lot of lawfare going on over the last couple of years in our country. So, Seth, it is great to have you with us today as part of the show, and welcome in.
Thanks, Ike. Nice to be here.
All right. So we are going to try to get this screen looking correct. I don't know what's going on there, but I apologize for that. So we want to ask you specifically today about this Supreme Court ruling that came down last week regarding these injunctions, these district court injunctions. How big is this for the Trump agenda, but also for presidents, in the future? What does this actually mean for our country?
I think it's huge. I think it is absolutely monumental that we had this come out last week. And Democrats are jumping up and down, and we understand why. They're trying to use the federal system, the judiciary, to stop the implementation of President Trump's immigration and other policies. And so for us to have this ruling last week was certainly a huge, huge moment for the Trump administration.
So what exactly did it say? Did it say, it's all, when you challenge something, because for the longest time they make a ruling in somewhere, Oregon, and it's, in effect for the entire country. Right. This changes that to where it's only relevant to the person challenging that. Is that a correct understanding, or is it something different?
No, that's a good summary. So basically what we have is this ruling is directly related to district court judges entering nationwide injunctions. So what was happening is attorneys, mostly Democrats and liberals, are filing these actions on behalf of classes of people or individuals. And they do this very systematically in areas that have liberal judges. And so they're judge shopping, they're filing these actions, and these district court judges at the federal level are entering injunctions which prohibit the implementation of President Trump's policies at a nationwide level, meaning that he can't do whatever it is they're challenging in any of the 50 states. So what the majority of the Supreme Court ruled last week is that these district court judges cannot issue nationwide injunctions that they have been. And one thing that's important to note, I think since 1963, there's only been like 100 and maybe 140 nationwide injunctions have been granted. President Trump himself has had probably 30 or 40 of those. And this is since 1963. So it's clearly lawfare against President Trump and his implementation of the policies that he believes are best for our nation. He was elected our president, and he should be allowed by public vote. Everybody said he should be allowed to create the policies for this nation. But these Democratic judges are trying to shut him down at the national level. So the Supreme Court said you cannot do that. You can only apply your injunction to the classification or the plaintiffs that are brought in that action. So basically, it gives President Trump great leeway to continue to implement his policies in the 50 states in this nation.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like we didn't really hear much about injunctions at all, and of course it really amped up during the first term, but then even more so just in the last few months. So it had a lot of people wondering, myself included. Wait a minute, did something change to where these these injunctions are now allowed? Why all of a sudden do we hear about it? But they've always been there. They just haven't always been abused, right?
Correct. I'll tell you exactly why. Is I think we've been on a slippery slope with partisan politics in our nation for quite some time. And what we've seen over the last 3-4 years against President Trump is the liberals will stop at nothing. And what they're doing is they're using district court judges at a federal level. And these are appointed judges, appointed by the United States president at the time of the appointment. So our attorneys from the Democratic Party, these liberal attorneys, are bringing the actions in districts that they know that they're going to get the ruling that they want. So they're handpicking their judges. The judges are entering these injunctions. And if they're nationwide, that locks down the issue for quite some time as it gets undone at the appellate level. So it was a huge win for the Republican Party.
So the opinion that we see here, the 6-3 ruling, and obviously a huge win for not something that Trump isn't allowed to do, just getting this lawfare out of the way for him to be able to do the job that he was elected to do. But you have some of these Supreme Court justices like Sotomayor, and especially Ketanji Brown Jackson. When I listen to the arguments, it's as if I'm listening to a liberal politician, not a Supreme Court justice. And in the actual, opinion, Amy Coney Barrett, according to some, implied that Ketanji Jackson is too dumb or unwilling to read legalese. She said that Justice Jackson skips over that part because analyzing the government statute involves boring, quote, legalese. I believe that's actually a direct quote from her dissenting opinion. And even at one point, Amy Coney Barrett says, we're not even going to really give it any oxygen. It's so ridiculous. Basically, she decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. What do you make of Ketanji Brown Jackson as a justice, and just these comments that she had, and Amy Coney Barrett's sort of evisceration of the fact that she's just, circumventing the law altogether?
Well, I think it's important to note that if you look back historically at United States Supreme Court decisions, you're not typically going to see the personal insults that you saw in what happened last week. And Justice Barrett, I think, is just fed up with what liberals are doing with this lawfare. And if you look at the dissenting opinion by Ketanji, it clearly is not based upon any precedent. It's based upon liberal ideals and the fact that she wants district court judges to be able to prohibit and tie the hands of our president. That's all this has to do with. It has nothing to do with case law, with precedent, with statutory decisions. This has nothing to do except continued lawfare. And it really, you could see how Ketanji Brown got just absolutely worked up over this and didn't like it. But it's all partisan politics. You got to know she's a liberal judge. She was appointed, and she has her right to be liberal, but she needs to follow the law. And she just was terribly upset that the majority ruled in favor of Trump.
Somebody did a word count of all the different justices, and she won by a lot. Ketanji Brown Jackson. She obviously talks a lot and says
There's no substance.
Right, exactly. Well, and just on its face, these injunctions, they're impractical. I mean, how would a society move forward if someone anywhere at any time could limit the entire country? It just seems absurd. And this loophole closing seems like it absolutely, was necessary. Let's pivot to due process. We hear this talked about a lot with illegal immigrants, and this is sort of the talking point that Democrats have adopted with Maryland Man, as they called him. What about due process? Never mind, there was no due process for these illegal immigrants entering the country, but they want the due process on the way out. It's led a lot of people to wonder, myself included, what due process is an illegal immigrant afforded under the law?
Well, I would say none, and I think most Republicans would tell you none. So these individuals are here illegally, and to think that they're going to fall under the purview of our Constitution flies in the face of reason and common sense. It doesn't make any sense. And the only reason that the Democrats and the liberals want to give due process is so that we can have these illegals here, and it can create an entire voting block for Democrats for decades to come. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. So to answer your question, the United States Constitution and amendments apply to individuals who are citizens of this great nation, whether or not by birth or by virtue of their naturalization. Illegal immigrants have zero right to be here, and as such, have zero rights under the Due Process Clause of the United States Constitution.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, what about the process to figure out if someone's here under an asylum clause, or, to determine the true illegal status? Is that a fair process to have in place, or how does that fit in to what you just said?
So what you're talking about is a habeas corpus. So if somebody is detained and they're going to be arrested, held, or sent back to their home country or even a third country, there's an argument that they should have the right to file a habeas corpus and basically prove that they have a valid reason to be here. Is there an argument for that? Sure. But what we don't need is the liberals and the Democrats want us basically to have to hold a full-blown trial to determine whether or not illegals should be here. And so whether or not you have a short hearing or some evidentiary hearing for a habeas claim, that's one thing, but that's something that could be performed within 24, 48, 72 hours, depending on the time of the week, that a judicial official could determine whether or not there's sufficient evidence to believe that, hey, this person is here legally under some type of visa or some type of legal status. But what's funny about this is the Democrats are basically arguing that we should not be able to deport known violent criminals from Venezuela, from South America, from all over the world. Iranians at this point are here illegally. And so Democrats are just doing everything they can to create a voting bloc because they know they need it. They're falling apart. Their whole party's falling apart. But to answer your question, a habeas claim, I think there's some certain validity in that, but that's something that can be handled in very short order. And we need to let Trump carry out his policies on immigration, and let's deport the people who are here illegally, especially violent criminals who are dangerous to our families.
Absolutely. All right, we're joined by legal analyst and owner at Seth Woodall and Associates, Seth Woodall. Before I let you go, you're in North Carolina. I wanted to ask you, with the very recent sparring going on social media between President Trump, between Senator Tom Tillis, then he announced that he's not going to run for re-election. What do you make of Senator Tillis and kind of these latest developments, and who might run for his seat?
Well, I've been watching that pretty closely over the last several months. And I'll tell you this, Tom Tillis saw the writing on the wall with the Republican Party and his own constituents over the last 6, 8, 10, 12 months. He's been unpopular in our party for perhaps a couple of years. He's been in that seat since 2015. And I would say, as respectfully as I can, he's a rhino. He's Republican in name only. He has crossed the aisle more times than not. And I think anybody in the state of North Carolina in the Conservative Party is probably dissatisfied with him right now. So I think he saw the writing on the wall. We knew that he was going to have a primary opponent in next year's election, so that was coming. I was not surprised to see President Trump basically come out last week on X and say, hey, a lot of people are contacting me and I'm going to basically handpick whoever's going to go in that seat. So I'm not surprised whatsoever, especially in light of the outcry from Tom Tillis of some of the issues that Trump has tried to push forward. Whether or not Tillis has supported same-sex marriage to some extent, has said that we didn't need to use military funds to build the wall that Trump wanted to build for immigration, didn't want the spending bills that Trump thought was important. So Tom Tillis has done more to combat Trump than he has to support his policies. So nobody can say that they're surprised that President Trump came out against Tom Tillis. And for Tom Tillis to announce his retirement, I saw it coming. I think he knew that he was a soft target. He was an easy target. And it was very likely that somebody was going to step up and primary him. And quite frankly, he would have a hard time beating anyone in a primary, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting. You know, I think Laura Trump, if she wants that seat, she is basically, she's got the right of first refusal. That's her seat if she wants it. And I think a lot of the Republicans who may be eyeing the seat are going to sit back and wait because they don't want to throw their name out there and get twisted up with President Trump or the Trump organization, the Trump family. So we're going to have to see if Laura Trump, you know, she had looked at that seat a couple of years ago and just with the age of her children decided it wasn't the right time. But I think she would be a strong, strong candidate. Outside of Laura Trump, I think, you know, our Michael Watley, who's the head of the Republican Party at the national level, was the state chairman of the party. I think his name's been thrown around a couple of times. There's some other folks that I don't want to give any legitimacy to because I don't know that they need to run, but there's some other folks throwing their names around. But we're just gonna have to wait. I think it's Laura Trump, so she wants it though.
When is this next election going to happen there in North Carolina? Is that 2026?
Yeah, so the primary will be March of 2026. The filing period for that seat probably doesn't end until December of 2025. So we've got quite some time. I would anticipate that Laura Trump will not make any quick decisions. I think it could very easily be the end of the summer, early fall. So I think we're just going to have to sit back and wait. And, you know, she wants it. It's hers. And, you know, I think she's going to have a challenger from the Democratic Party. It's unfortunately pretty strong, but I think she can win here in North Carolina. You know, we're a swing state now. The Republican Party is making a comeback here in North Carolina. And we've got to keep pushing our conservative values because that's what our people need.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep fighting the good fight there. Thank you for joining us. Seth Woodall, you really helped to illuminate some of these questions we have about the law. We hope to have you back again soon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we all got smarter after watching that, didn't we? I did. That is, it's so, I find it refreshing when people that are attorneys are willing to talk to you about political things on the record, because sometimes, you know, people don't want to do that. Maybe they, you know, I understand for reasons, for, you know, professional reasons or something, depending on the area of the law they work in or something like that, they don't want to do it. But I love the fact that Seth is willing to come on with us. So that helps us understand the injunctions. It helps us understand what a succinct and clear answer on the due process. I really enjoyed that explanation. I think that's super helpful. And you know what I do is I ask people that are smarter than me, and then when I talk about it later, I act like I'm smart because I just listened to what they said. So there is no due process for people here illegally, unless you got the habeas corpus like you talked about. So anyway, really, really good stuff. Interesting about Laura Trump. You know, everybody's been wondering, what is she going to do? Where is she going to go? What is she up to? And, you know, when she announced, you know, that she had something big coming up, you know, a lot of people thought that she was going to be taking Marco Rubio's seat. That didn't happen. And then, you know, she's doing this show on the weekends on Fox. And I guess she's doing, David Sling says she's doing a show on Salem. Excuse me. I think she is going to be, she will be around for a long time to come, because I think she's just getting started, and obviously was intricate in the process of President Trump's reelection. Just did a phenomenal job. Kind of interesting, you know, she's working super close with her father-in-law, you know, like it's almost like Trump likes her more than he likes, you know, Eric. But anyway, that's good intel, especially on the ground in North Carolina. There is a lot yet to be determined there on, you know, as it relates to that seat. You know, it is. I just don't understand what happened to Tom Tillis. And I don't know that he was ever really conservative. As I've told you, in full disclosure, I know his brother really well. He's a great guy, and but I, you know, I don't know Senator Tillis at all. But I do know he comes from a good family. That's all I do know. but some of these votes just don't make sense. And, I have tried to do my best to, be as open-minded and not critical of Tom Tillis, just because I've given him the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways, just understanding, who he is from knowing his family. And I just can't make any sense of these votes specifically. I mean, as recent as the AI vote there with the moratorium, he was the only one that voted against it. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know what happened to TikTok. We somehow got kicked off or something, probably in a ban or something like that. But anyway, I don't know what happened there. We do know, back to this census issue and illegal immigrants, that the White House is also working on this along with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm trying to get this thing to work here. Okay, so they're working on ways to exclude illegal aliens from the U.S. Census, taking away those House seats. So you got Stephen Miller on it. I mean, when Stephen Miller is on something, forget about it. This dude, he's like a dog with a bone. The dogs, the cats. By the way, just a total sidebar here. Maybe I'll play it for you. Maybe I should play it. When I went on, let me cue it up. But I went on Newsmax on Sunday and had an argument or debate or whatever with this liberal. Okay. Now, it's the first time I ever was on with him, so I always give these people the benefit of the doubt. I don't come out aggressive unless they come out aggressive. Now, usually there's not much time to calibrate on the fly, but when I go up against them next time, I know, oh, this person is aggressive, so I will be aggressive. There's actually some pretty delightful Democrats that I've been on with before that are, pretty reasonable. And I know that sounds weird. And so I do not want to come out as the aggressive conservative if that's not the spirit of the conversation, because some people are more aggressive and some people are more, even keel. And so I just, as a strategy, I just adopt this whole thing of I will remain civil until they become aggressive. This guy called me an Islamophobe as I was talking. By the way, he was interrupting me. I never interrupted him, but he interrupted me. He also called me a racist. And so I maintained just very nice guy. Okay. And of course, after the thing was over, I'm like, I should have said this. I should have said that. So, it's just one of those things. But like, if you ever have seen my clip with Theron Bond, I was on with her at one time and I was very nice, just like with this guy. And then she got aggressive and started wagging her head and doing all this stuff. And I said, okay, now I know. Now I know how she is. Next time I got on with her, I was loaded for bear. Loaded for bear. I freaking dropped those freaking bombs on her regarding the 13th and 14th Amendment when she was trying to act like America is racist and blah, 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 blah. And that Republicans are racist, actually, is what she was saying. And so I was ready. I don't know if you've seen that clip. Surely you've seen that clip. But nonetheless, let me see here. I'm gonna bring up a couple clips for you, if you will indulge me for a moment. And I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this was the clip from, let's see here. This would have been the clip from Sunday. It's somewhere. I don't know if this is the full. I don't remember if this is the full clip or not. Now I can't find my templates here. Oh, there we go. All right, take a look at this.
Mondani winning the New York City Democrat mayoral primary this week. Now, he is a self-described Democratic socialist who ran a campaign on, quote, affordability and higher taxes for that old 1%. Now, Trump truthed about Mondani, saying, in part, Zohran Mondani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democrat primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. To break it all down, we have New York Times bestselling author and journalist Ellis Hennigan, as well as the host of the Ike Wingate Show, Ike Wingate. Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, Ellis, I'm going to start with you. Is Mandani the future of your party? He seems to be a pretty charismatic guy, and we've seen really charismatic guys rise to the top of the Democrat Party in the past.
Well, he ran a terrific campaign. Yes, he's very charismatic. I think if you met him, TW, you'd probably like him. And he had a very, very powerful message, which is that at a time that Republicans in Washington seem perfectly happy to give trillions of dollars in tax cuts to the wealthy, you know what? Maybe a hardworking New Yorker deserves a $2.75 bus ride. Or maybe we need to bring a little balance to this thing, all this inequality that we're suffering from. Maybe it's time to take another look at that. He delivered that message in a very charming and well-argued way. And you know what? He kicked butt in the Democratic primary.
Well, I think ranked choice voting might have helped a little bit. But Ike, what do you think? What do you make of this guy? Is he the future? Is he the poster boy for what Democrats are doubling down on in this coming elections?
You know, well, I hope so. If it's going to be for the success of the Republicans, this guy.
By the way, can I just pause here and say, what the heck does this guy think he's doing? He thinks he's getting asked 2 questions in a row when I'm sitting here on this panel and the guy said Ike. I mean, Dick Morris did this to me as well. And I just thought, well, he's old. But then this guy does it. I mean, anyway, I digress.
So if it's going to be for the success of the Republicans, this guy being the poster child for the Democrat Party is going to be beautiful for Republicans because these policies don't work. We have books, they're called history books, that tell us that communism does not work. He wants to empty the jails. He thinks that violence is an artificial construct. He wants government grocery stores. I mean, we've all been to the DMV. We know that won't work. This guy is a radical, and it shows you Democrats vote on emotion, not substance. He's an ear tickler. He tells them things they want to hear that make them feel good, but they don't really make the connection to actually how they can happen, how they will get done, who's going to pay for it. And he's the best example. He's actually the poster child for real estate in any other country except for New York City, because people are flocking away and looking for options because they don't want to sit under this regime.
Well, what we do know about voters in New York, there are a lot of Israeli voters, Israeli-American voters, obviously, and that anti-Israel stance that Mandani has taken, I think, has gotten their attention. Now, he says if he's elected mayor, he's going to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for war crimes. He's defending the phrase global intifada, which calls for aggressive resistance against supporters of Israel and has been used to incite violence against Jewish people. Ellis, now there's been an alarming rise in anti-Semitism in this country. You can't deny that even here in the city of New York. Isn't Mandani's win a sign of where the Democrat Party stands on this issue?
Listen. You got to hold your horses here in just a second. In the history of New York City, 0 mayors have been elected president. In fact, the only major party nominee who was a New York mayor was DeWitt Clinton in 1812, who James Madison beat.
I mean, what the heck is he talking about? You see how he just completely avoided answering the question about this guy's radical views? And, oh, don't worry, he's not going to be president. It's like only happened once. Don't worry about it.
So it is a very diverse country. We've got a lot of different people out there that appeal to different parts of the constituency. The Republicans don't run Tommy Tuberville in Maine. There's a reason for that.
Because he doesn't live there.
Big tent parties here. But you know what? He's a guy to watch. He's got an interesting analysis. He certainly did very well in the campaign. You guys can dismiss him and you can trash New York, but that's not the experience that most New Yorkers have.
He says we're trashing New York.
You got to admit,
they may know more than you know.
You got to admit this guy's pretty radical, all right, Ike? I mean, what do you make of this guy?
He's a progressive. He's a progressive.
I mean, nobody's trashing New York City.
You
what
just
we're doing
did,
is we're trying
You just
trying to understand. We're trying to understand what in the world is going on to where people would elect someone as their nominee who wants to literally empty the streets with prisoners everywhere. He actually is an anti-Semite. Yes, he is an anti-Semite. There's no doubt about it. And just ask the people of Hamtramck, Michigan, who have Muslim leadership. They banned pride flags.
and they actually voted for animal sacrifice in people's backyards. Get ready, New York City, because that's coming to your city if you are going to bring this guy in. People want to vote for him. Get ready for the policies that ban the things that you guys.
I think you're right. I think this
in the
guy.
pride flag.
Hold on. I think this guy.
Can you believe this? I mean, he wouldn't even let me make the statement. He called me racist.
Islamophobia is not going to fly in New York. It's we believe people have
Is in the pride flag.
Hold on. I think this guy.
Did you hear that? Islamophobia is not going to fly. Vote for him. Get ready for the policies that ban the things that you guys.
I think you're right. I think this
is in the pride flag.
Hold on. I think this guy.
Islamophobia is not going to fly in New York. It's we believe people have a right to practice whatever religion they want to, Ike, and I don't care whether you like it or not.
Except for
you have a
flag,
right,
apparently.
to be clear, you have a right to practice your religion.
Absolutely.
But what you don't have a
Thank
right
you.
to do is negate the Constitution of the United States,
course
which is
not.
what this
Tell
guy's
Donald
talking
Trump
about.
that.
But
You're
Ellis
right.
Hennigan, we
You made it about Trump.
appreciate
Good to
you being
see you
on.
guys.
Ike Wingate, thank you so much. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Great to
Good
be
to
with
see
you.
you all.
How about that? This is what I'm talking about. I was nice the first time. I won't make that mistake the next time with this guy. But anyway, I don't even know why I went off on that. But it's somehow Trump's fault. He wouldn't answer the question, called me racist while I was talking, and then said I was Islamophobic. I'm telling you, okay? Yeah, you can practice whatever religion you want, but when Muslims get in power, they do crazy stuff. Now, the pride flag, I don't really care about that. But it's hilarious that these people voted for this guy when his core Muslim beliefs go against so many of the things that they're about, which is what is so hilarious about all these people marching for Palestine and all these other regimes with Hamas and otherwise, where gay people get killed. But yet they're marching around acting like, these people are their saviors, and they're just freaking dummy. They're just dumb. They're just stupid. Sorry, I about said something I shouldn't have said. And so when you look at Muslim beliefs, by and large, like, it's some violent stuff. Now, not everybody's violent who's Muslim, and a lot of people are Muslim in, sort of a cultural sense, not necessarily as a practicing religion sense when you look around the globe. But for those that take it as serious as the Quran says, they're freaking radical, man. And there's a lot of justification for violence, a lot of justification for deception. And you have this twit that's come in here, this Mamdani, who's come in, who's acting like he is grown up in harsh conditions. He's from a very privileged background. He's been a citizen for 7 years. He has ties to, supporting car bombs and violence and globalize the intifada and all of these things. And they act like he's just this amazing guy because he's just like Obama. He's an ear tickler. He tells them what they want to hear. He has no idea how he's going to get it done. And in fact, he can't get it done. But yet these dummies voted for him. And I just keyed in to be, a little bit polarizing on the backyard sacrifices and then the pride flag, because I find it hilarious because they're going to vote for this guy, and people like him put policies in place that get rid of their pride flag. So, which I'm okay with. But I just want to put it, back in their face. Now, the interesting thing about this is the reason why I brought this up is after I did this hit, 2 liberal rags wrote a piece about me, quoting me and everything, like this was the dogs and cats 2.0. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And they basically try to paint me as a lunatic. The funny thing is they quoted me verbatim, and I was like, yeah, thank you for quoting me verbatim. I'm telling the truth. But these people went nuts in the comments, and they literally were talking about how to get rid of me, like how to kill me. No lie. It's in the comments. They went crazy. And it's like Newsmax pundit, blah, 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 blah. You'll have to go look it up. But it is crazy, the comments in there. Like, it is hilarious how wrong and stupid and without the ability to process dissenting views these people actually are. Case in point with this discussion with this guy, Ellis, where, he had no substantive argument except to call me racist and Islamophobe and somehow make it about Trump eventually. Anyway, speaking of Trump and Iran, the question was asked today and about Iran, and here's what Trump said.
But he wants it too. I will say he's coming here next week. He wants to end it too. We had a tremendous success with Iran. They won't have me. Somebody said, "When are you going to sign?" I said, "Sign? They are so bombed out." Did you see the report issued this morning? The place was decimated. It'll be years before anybody even gets down there. So that's not a priority. But we'll have a report and we'll have whatever we want. We'll get whatever we want from Iran. And I think, and I hope they want to have a good country. They have massive sanctions right now, biting sanctions. It's going to be very hard for them to do anything with those sanctions. And I look forward to maybe there'll be a time when we get along with them and they can rebuild their country.
Is there a point where you tell Netanyahu, like, you gotta end this now, you gotta strike a deal?
Well, he wants to. I can tell you he wants to, and I think we'll have it. I think we'll have a deal next week.
All right. So he says, I think we'll have a deal next week. And we'll get whatever we want from Iran. He's not worried about Iran at this point. So I think that's a positive thing. Now, it couldn't be left unsaid or unanswered. Trump and Ron, Don and Ron getting along. What's that about? Take a look.
Yeah, you stand here now as partners on this effort. How would you describe the relationship, and what future does Governor DeSantis have?
I think it's a 10. Maybe 9-9, because there might be a couple of little wounds. So maybe it's 9-9. I think we have a 10. We get along great.
Well, the thing about it is, I endorsed him immediately in January 2024. I raised one of his PACs millions and millions of dollars. And obviously, we saved him a lot of money in Florida because Florida was a deep red state. He didn't even have to do a rally in Florida, whereas 2016 and 20, this was like ground zero. And so we've been, really happy to do that. And then we've worked very well on this and other issues with Florida. You can call him at any time, and he wants to be helpful for governors. I mean, I can tell you that. We did Hurricane Helene last year. You didn't hear from the president at the time then. But with President Trump, we know immediately. You just make the phone call.
Yeah, as a follow-up question, I'm sorry, like another thing you inherited. How firm are you going to be with Netanyahu about ending?
All right. So basically, he said, we know when we call Trump, he's going to answer, and, they are singing each other's praises there, basically regarding how Trump is as a president versus Biden, where you couldn't get the dude on the phone. But obviously, there's no grudges or anything like that. They're doing what's necessary to serve their constituents, it's just kind of a beautiful thing. When people try to talk about President Trump is a narcissist, there's a clip that I retweeted last night of RFK Jr. Go check it out on X. And basically, he's like, I thought Trump was a narcissist. But after getting to know him, he's one of the most empathetic people I've ever met. When you talk about the wars, as I've been saying, I've said this multiple times, President Trump's the only one that ever talks about the real cost to war, which is the loss of human life. President Trump always frames up the true cost of any conflict like that. You can tell it bothers him. He cares about human life. And that really is what all politicians should be worried about, should be thinking about when they're sending other people's kids to war. Well, they never talk about it, but President Trump does. Anyway, back on the narcissist thing, a narcissist would not stand there with DeSantis and work with him. A narcissist would say, screw you, you win against me, you're dead to me. Trump basically, if you run against him in politics, he is going to be brutal. But at the end of it, if you're like, hey, job well done, you're the winner, I support you, it's like it never happened. He's not a grudge holder. He just gets on with it, right? And so I think that's an absolute, that's absolute evidence that he's not a narcissist. Sure, he's confident and believes in his ability to get things done, but a classic narcissist would never allow that. Never allow that. And so, that just does not make sense. And, you look at President Trump. I brought this up last week, or man, when the heck was that? I feel like it was. Anyway, President Trump, has exercised extreme self-control in a lot of cases. He could have just lambasted Biden in that debate, but Trump, was very reserved. He's been reserved with Elon too. He's not rushing. In the middle of the night, he gets pissed off about some news coverage and he, truths it out or whatever. Whatever. But when it comes to things where he could be aggressive, he has exercised a lot of restraint. And I'm telling you, President Trump, this time in the White House, he was like a bull in the China cabinet in Trump 1.0, but Trump 2.0 is like a methodical surgeon. I mean, he had the same instincts in Trump 1.0, but he didn't have the political know-how. He didn't have sort of the political pedigree, if you will, at that point, because he was still learning the ropes. And he's admitted that. Again, something a narcissist wouldn't do. And this version of Trump is he doesn't pick fights unless he needs to. And when he does, he's very surgical and effective with it. And he has surrounded himself with the right people. And politically, he has just become so savvy in how he positions things, the order in which he does it, and the misdirection that he throws off at times, and when he talks and when he doesn't, how he deflects questions he doesn't want to give an answer to, but he still leaves it open-ended. Like, these are things that he developed in his time off and has just really strengthened his political acumen. I mean, it's very, very impressive. At one time, it was like, well, he's not a politician, he's a businessman, so blah, 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 blah. People still talk about that. But I'm telling you, you talk about leadership is one thing, but politically, as a politician and being able to navigate and avoid these pitfalls, I don't think we've seen a better politician. Because, you have the slimy politicians that just tell you what, you want to hear and then don't do anything. Well, he's the opposite of that. Like, he won't make promises that he doesn't intend to keep. And sometimes he'll come through with promises or great things that he never promised and he never said anything about. And you're like, whoa. Most of the time, politicians tell you all these things they're going to do and then they don't do jack squat. Well, I don't mean that kind of politician. I mean someone who actually understands the system, navigates the system, leverages the system. And what he's doing this time around is he's not stepping in crap as much, or really at all. He did that a lot in the first term where he had to play defense. Well, now he's playing offense. And that is through extremely skillful political maneuvering. And it's very impressive, and not from the sense of being a slimy politician, but being an actual effective politician. I've been very impressed with it. It's been fun to watch, without a doubt. Okay. All right. So we are going to be able to be joined by phone. Let's see. Okay. From Alligator Alcatraz. Let me know when you are ready. Okay. All right. I'm just thinking through something here as far as him joining us. Just how we have to hook this up audio wise. We don't have any audio engineers around here. Okay. It's just me. So you get what you pay for, right? By the way, if you want to contribute to this show, as we're bringing you all kinds of things, not only, expert legal analysis, but a live report from Alligator Alcatraz right now, as well as all the other things that are happening, like this, political observations, right? If you want to support this kind of content, please help us out. We need your contributions. Michelle has said she will match $47 in contributions. Here's the sad thing is we have had $0 in contributions. I mean, I'm wearing a tie for you. Come on. $0 in contributions so far today. Please consider contributing via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. My unique links are set up there. IkeReport.com. And we need to get at least $47 in, so it'll be doubled by Michelle. You can also, of course, contribute right there in the chat on Rumble. All right, some comments. Michelle says, as Trump said, he was once the hunted, and now he's the hunter. David Sling says, now he's spitting bullets. Spitting bullets. Okay, let's see here. All right, well, maybe we'll just go ahead and bring up.
I'm in a little bit of a pickle.
You're in a pickle?
A little bit of a pickle.
All right, Ed, you're live on the air from Alligator Alcatraz. I've heard the coverage there, the network is not great.
No, it's not, and so I got some great footage that I'm looking for. Can't upload yet, but I was grabbing some footage in the swamp of some gators to show the wildlife that immigrants may encounter. And it just so happened that the very small trail I went down is now full of alligators and crocodiles. So
you were okay. So you're breaking up a little bit. I'm going to translate. So you were just down a trail, getting footage, and now it's basically you're seeing alligators and stuff behind you. Is that right? Can you hear me, Ed? Now the problem is, okay, we're starting to get you again. We're going to be concerned if you go away suddenly. We're going to think that you died suddenly from an alligator.
Well,
we're having a hard time making out what you're saying, unfortunately.
Right now, there's a bunch of gators between me and the car.
There's a bunch of gators between you and
my car.
Oh no.
So I'm trapped on a path right now. And I can tell you this is how it's gonna feel if you're a migrant. Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're gonna quickly find that you're in gator country and that you aren't really in charge anymore. Okay.
So obviously you're a Floridian, but I mean, you don't come in contact with alligators very often, do you? I mean, it's not a normal thing to you, is it?
This is rare, and they're pretty big. So this is new. I guess I'm legitimately in the Everglades. So what I'm going to have to do with the battery power I got left on the cell phone, I need to call the Florida Wildlife and Game and drop a pin and hope that they get out to me before it turns nightfall, because I think I'll have to run. I think the years of
you say you're going to have to run. So
I will zigzag. Okay, it's really important at this point if that's a myth or not. That is really important.
Yeah, don't run in a straight line. Let's see
if you could help me real quick. The bigger thing is look up Everglades Safari Park and text me a number. Okay, because I'm right.
It says back away. It says back away slowly. Avoid sudden movements. They can be startled or perceive you as a threat.
Interesting.
If
Interesting.
if they're concerned. Now, okay, what was the thing you wanted you need the number to?
Look up Everglades Safari Park. I'm off the beaten trail near there. That's the closest humans that I can call. See, migrants will not be able to call because if you call Everglades
will
Safari
not.
Park,
They will not
help you. But I have a feeling they'll help me. So I'm gonna if you can text me that number, I need to take some action before the sun goes down. So, but I've got some awesome footage. Alcatraz, Alligator Alcatraz from the air, and I also was able to bust the little the people that came out to protest. They definitely were not organic. It was a group out of Miami that bust people out to protest President Trump. So I got some photos of that.
Really? Okay, so you're pretty confident these people were paid agitators?
Paid agitators, yeah. Paid to come out. I mean, it's usually every time. But so they had white handlers with a bunch of Mexicans and Indians. And so what I did is, and I'm talking about American Indians, of course. What I did is I was able to talk one of the white handlers into giving me the flyer they used to organize, and she gave me their name, the organization, everything from that. So I'll have that up once I get back to civilization. Once I conquer this very, very minor issue right now. I don't think it's a major issue yet, but I am trapped. So
yeah,
I'll
you don't want to be out there after dark, I would say, right?
Yes, and no, we definitely do not. Definitely do not. And these are not small gators. They are like 12-footers. So, yeah.
Well, hey, that's good info from out there. And were you able to get very close at all to the facility with all the security today? Was it pretty tough?
It was very tough. I was able to get in the front of it, and I was able to but I was not able to get inside. That was for some special, but not me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, stay safe. You're breaking up a little bit. I've texted you the phone number to that wildlife place. And of course, people can follow you at Real Edward Zoll. It is on the screen right now on X. And that way they'll be able to see the
real
footage.
Quick, before I lose you, say the number out loud.
Okay. It is 305 226 6923.
6923. Got it. Hear from me in an hour. You need to call the Collier County Sheriffs. Okay. Tell them.
You better drop. You better send me a
Everglades.
pin, Ed. You better send me a pin.
I need to do that before the phone dies right now. And oh man, this is not because
what makes it worse is you keep cutting out when you're about to say something important, and I never know if it's it's the sound of something taking a bite out of you.
My phone is cooking. I need
All right, Ed.
Okay.
All right, go for it.
I'll share my location with you too.
Okay, sounds good, buddy. Stay safe.
Bye.
All right, Ed's all there. He went out there this morning on the ground near the Alligator Alcatraz to get some drone footage, and obviously has found himself surrounded by alligators. And that is not just for TV or whatever. That is if he's saying it, that is a real thing. He's former military, so he's equipped with certain survival skills. But nobody wants to try to survive an alligator, right? So got to say thank you to Michelle. Michelle has went ahead and made the $50 contribution, said the Glades will get you if Grady Judd doesn't. Thank you, Michelle, for the 50 spot. Michelle with that one. And then Patriot Mom and Grandma with the $10 contribution says, I've been watching you on Facebook and checking in when I'm not working or with my granddaughter. Love the tie. Keep up the great reporting. Thank you very much, Patriot Mom and Grandma. Very good. Okay. Let's see here. Michelle says save him. That's a different number than I gave him. That you're posting. That's a different number. I don't know. Maybe I gave him the wrong number. Oh, that's the sheriff. That's the sheriff. Yeah. He was thinking he didn't need the sheriff yet. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. But look what we've done. We've brought you the changes in the big, beautiful bill today. We've brought you the conversation about the census. We brought you specifics from a legal expert on due process and these injunctions. And we brought you live coverage on the ground from the area of Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, come on. Come on. We work and do our best for you, my friend. So thank you guys for being here. A couple more clips for you if you want. Hopefully, maybe some more people will contribute here in the last 7 or 8 minutes. But Candace Owens, what is going on with Candace Owens? Okay. She says she got a personal call from Trump regarding her coverage of Brigitte Macron, where she says the wife of Emmanuel Macron, is that his name? The prime minister of France or whatever he is. What is he? President of France? I don't know. But she says that Brigitte, his wife, is actually a dude, and she's even said that it's his dad. Like, anyway, she on her show said that she was contacted by President Trump and asked to cut it out. Take a look.
Message that's
Biden
like,
would tell them to come back in 3 years.
Hold
and
on a
appear.
sec here.
Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two, so they're not going to be detained hopefully for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now that Supreme Court ruling was
Ron DeSantis sneaking in there. All right, here we go. Back to that clip of Candace Owens.
hey, keep your phone on. And anyways, this phone call is coming from Florida. Pick up the phone, and lo and behold, so here's what happened. I'm negotiating this thing. I'm negotiating Ukraine and Russia, and you wouldn't believe how many parts are part. It is President Donald J. Trump. He is calling me, and in true President Trump fashion, he jumps right into the narrative. We're not, hey, how you doing? He just jumps right into the narrative of exactly how this went down. I am literally, it is hard to catch my breath to comprehend that 4 days ago, I'm ending a series about Brigitte Macron, and now I'm speaking to the President of the United States, and the topic of conversation, no matter which way you want to slice it, it's about Macron's wife's penis. I mean, there's no other way to say it, right? Anyways, I like Macron. We're speaking at the White House, and I'm walking him to his car. And, he says to me, Mr. President, can I speak to you for a second? I say, of course you can speak to me about anything. What's going on? And Macron wants to have a little sidebar. And then Macron says to him, Mr. President, do you know Candace Owens? And I say, yes, of course I know Candace Owens. What's going on? And then continues his narrative, and he tells me that Emmanuel Macron is requesting to his face that I stop speaking about his wife. And one of the things Trump said is he tells me, she's old and this is really, really impacting her. And then he said, I saw her, Candace, I saw her up close and she looks like a woman to me. She looks like a woman to me. I had dinner with her at the top of the Eiffel Tower. And I explained to him that she has had this amazing doctor who specializes in transgenderism surgeries or feminization procedures. I'm talking to the President of the United States about this, guys. This is crazy. This is wacky. And I said to Trump, and I will be honest, that at that moment, I realized that one day this is going to go into my autobiography. And so I got to say something funny. And I said to him, respectfully, Mr. President, it's not my fault that he married someone with a penis. He then tells me we're really close to getting this thing done. And he throws in the art of the deal type stuff. He starts complimenting me. He said, Melania loves you. She says, you're so beautiful. She thinks you're so beautiful. I said, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Compliments will get you everywhere in life is my mentality here. And then I say to him, what I've agreed to already in the back of my head, I say, look, I'm happy to do this for the short. Obviously, I don't want to have on my conscience that less Christian men could have died in the East if I just shut up about something. But I'm very clear to him that this is going to be short term, and that I fully expect that in a few months I will be able to speak about this. He was about to commit to that, but then it felt to me like someone in the background was like, no, we need this conversation to stop altogether. And then he doesn't say no or yes, but he just says, that he really needs to work with Macron long term, and they have this long working relationship. And I was very clear, this is not long term for me. Like, if you're close to this deal, ink it, let's get it done. And then he sort of offers at the end, he says, hey, maybe I can come on your podcast one day. I'm great for ratings. They're so Trumpian to give yourself a compliment. So I give him the Trump right back. And I say respectfully, Mr. President, I'm apparently good for ratings too, because you've got a leader of a country, the president of the country, asking you to ask me to do a favor. So.
Okay. Saying President Trump called her to ask her to cut it out, and then said, I'm good. I'm great for ratings. Nobody's better for ratings than me. Nobody.
Hey, look,
I mean, do you think that happened? Here's the weird thing is I'm going to play this other clip of her. Okay. And she's talking about
going on. Literally,
hold on a second.
What is happening right now? When I call that person,
Okay. Come on. So she's essentially saying something different in this clip. Okay, is she wearing the same thing? Let's see. Let's see what she's wearing over here. Okay, so she's wearing the same thing. So maybe more than one call happened, but I listened to this clip and I'm like, that's different than what she said when she talked to Trump. Take a look.
When I call that person back, they tell me something that is even stranger. They say, look, I again am the messenger here. What I was told from somebody that's pretty high up at the White House is that Emmanuel Macron is holding up negotiations to end the Russian and Ukrainian war unless you stop speaking about his wife. And I'm just going, what? What are you saying? What are we even speaking about? What do you mean negotiations between Russia and Ukraine? I'm just like, looking into a story at my house. I've got a very small team here, and you're telling me that somehow negotiations are being held up and it needs to be communicated to me that I got to stop talking about Brigitte? What are we saying? And then I'm asking myself in my mind.
All right. So she goes on and then says, she finds out later that Trump was in the background listening or was on the call. Okay. Then obviously she talks to Trump directly later, some other time.
I hang up this phone. I am in true shock. Did Emmanuel Macron pretend to fly into DC under the guise of negotiations, the Russia and Ukraine war, and then instruct someone on his entourage to have an off the books discussion, a little meeting on the side, maybe somebody again, like a Susie Wiles, where he made his truer demands? Like, hey, this is for the pictures. Me and Trump are talking about you. We're going to get it done. And then what really goes on behind the scenes is like, we're not doing anything until that little podcaster, Candace, agrees to shut her mouth. What? This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. Okay. So we ended the conversation. I say, I'm going to sleep on this. It's a lot to process. I remember I get into bed and I just turn to my husband and I say, no one will ever believe us. Just something that just arrived at me very suddenly. I said, no one will ever believe that this just took place. And my husband's like, yeah, no, this is just very, very strange. And I promised the individual that I would pray on it, that I would think further about the situation. What are the implications here? And I then call him back the next day and I say, look, this is pretty weird. You have to admit this is pretty weird. And you're not really giving me any details. And I kind of want to know who specifically you spoke to, because I think it kind of matters. Is somebody trying to do a side deal while Trump is doing a different deal? And at that moment, he's honest and he says, no, President Trump was on the phone too. And I go, oh, are you kidding me? You didn't tell me this yesterday? That there was some sort of a conference call And President Trump is on the line. You didn't mention. I go, did you lie to me yesterday? Were you trying to pretend that it was like a third party person? And he says, no, I didn't lie to you. Didn't lie to you. Like, I got a phone call, and I obviously in the background, Trump communicated something to me. So he was there when the phone call took place. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? Literally, what is happening right now?
I think she's done lost her marbles, maybe. I don't know what to make of this. Is it possible it happened? Yeah, I guess it is. But why would Trump be on two different calls about this issue, the leader of the free world? I know, Trump will talk to some people, and he's very in tune with optics of what things look like or whatever and making deals. Do we think Macron came here and was that worried about it? I mean, Candace claims that Macron offered her $4 million to stop talking about this, which I said she should have taken the freaking money. I mean, is this issue like, I mean, let's assume it's true. It's just freaking weird and gross. What is it really affecting? Well, you got a, leader of France who's pretending to be something he's not or whatever. And that's a sick situation. But, for someone like Candace, who's all about, America first and so against helping Israel with anything now, like she's gone, like I understand Israel is not perfect. I still support them to an extent, but she's like all out, like hates Israel at this point. Just super far. She's supposed to be, all about America first. Well, what the heck does Brigitte Macron's alleged penis have to do with America first? That's kind of I think a pretty good question, don't you think? Take the money. I will take $4 million to not talk about just about anything. It's off limits. You're not allowed to talk about this anymore. Okay. All right. I will never misgender anyone ever again. 4 million. Okay. Right. I won't mansplain anything ever again for 4 million. Okay. I mean, what does this really affect day to day? Like, I get it. Like, if you're trying to get clicks and you're trying to, have a salacious story, then you do a story like this. I get it. Like, my team and I have talked about covering this specific thing a few months ago. I'm just like, man, it is so tabloidy. I don't really want to get into it. Oh, yeah, people would click on it. Of course they would. But I still have to, there's plenty of things I could do and anybody could do for clicks. But, it's kind of like you're selling your soul a little bit. You're sort of diminishing your credibility. I get it. It's an interesting story, but she's already covered it. I don't need to do anything with this. It's just freaking weird. And so I get it if you're trying to get clicks and all that, but in the grand scheme of things, if it's not about clicks, what is it about? If you're America first, why are you spending so much time and effort on covering this Macron's wiener or whatever? Why? And so when you're asked to stop for 4 million, allegedly, which I still find that very hard to believe. I don't know what's harder to believe, actually, that she was offered $4 million to shut up, or that Trump called her twice. One time secretly eavesdropping, and then the next time he called her directly and then was like, I'm good for ratings, Candace. Come on, think about it. The Ukraine-Russia deal hinges on you, Candace. I'm really good for ratings. I mean, I don't know what's harder to believe, actually, in those two things. But here's the possibility is Candace Owens has been activated in some kind of mind experiment or something. And I'm telling you, this is going to sound kooky, but I believe it's true. I don't know about Candace, but there are people that are planted or developed, I believe, or manipulated to literally talk about stuff that's going on, but because they're so crazy and they're crazy about a lot of stuff, people just diminish the true stuff and the crazy stuff together because it all sounds crazy. I mean, Alex Jones could be that guy. I don't know for sure. Or the other explanation, you could say, well, she's looked into so many of these things so much and she's so paranoid. And I understand. You cover this kind of stuff and people make enough death threats that maybe you become paranoid and see things that aren't there. And So it could be that, or it could literally be, people get famous and they start making good money and they, detach from everyday reality. And a lot of times there's many creators, even especially rather on the right, that become so obsessed with getting a story that hits the right way, they have to just be obsessed with the news cycle, obsessed with everything that's going on. And I think over time, like, you add in a little bit of fame and money with that, and I think you have a recipe for people starting to go a little bonkers. And I just had a conversation today off the record with somebody who's a, right leaning or on the right, creator that you all know, who is a total butthole behind the scenes and sort of like detached from reality about how to behave with people. And I'm just like, man, what is the deal? And then I start to wonder, like, are they putting something in Republican water? Maybe they're putting something. No, I'm kidding about that. But the concept, like, is it possible that when you start uncovering stuff, then I don't know, people that are trying to protect the secrets start feeding you crap that's not true, and you start to go a little nuts? I don't know. I don't understand what's going on with Candace Owens. She's really, I think, jumped the shark. And, now she's like almost at this point of just like total diminished credibility, which is sad. Anyway, I don't know. Pam says, some people say it's because she wasn't picked for Trump's cabinet. Rocky says the same thing. Dana says maybe Candace has mixed up her dreams with reality. I mean, maybe they could have done that with some kind of drug or something. David Sling says she would have gotten a knock on the door by the FBI. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Pam says the bigger picture is he groomed a child. Yeah. If in fact Brigitte Macron is a dude, much older dude, groomed the younger guy, and if it was his own dad, I mean, that's even weirder. Yes, there's something very terrible that has happened there, if that's true. But I ask again, what in the crap does that have to do with America? If you are America first, why are you fixated on that so much? It's just got to be for clicks, which means she's not really all about America first. She just is when it is convenient. David Sling says Ike will never show Kamala videos for $4 million. Sold. Win-win is what we call it. Rocky says Candace hates Israel now. And that Candace and Elon have gone crazy together. David Sling says she also had the Pope call her. He said to quit talking about Peter stuff. Yeah, I mean, we could probably start a series of memes here. Rocky's watched the episode, says she spoke to 2 or 3 people, including Trump. David Sling, I wonder if she's looking for clicks. I mean, that sure is what it looks like to me. By the way, Ed has texted me and said he ran and got to his car. He ran. Let's see. What did he say exactly? Okay, I ran and got away. All right. He's safe. He's safe. Let's see. Pam said, well, Candace did expose Kamala's lies about her upbringing, right? So Trump should thank her for that. I think she thinks she had a lot more to do with the election than she did, the way she was talking about, like, Trump being the biggest disappointment. Did you see her say all that stuff? Like, that just, man, you can have your opinion, but it sure comes across as quite arrogant to me. You know what I mean? Did he run the serpentine method? I don't know. He just said he ran. He didn't say if it was a straight line or the serpentine method. But it's really kind of too bad when somebody who you trust kind of goes off the deep end like that. Let's just say everything she's saying is true. Okay. Let's just say everything she is saying is true. The way she is saying it, I think, is just very like riddled with hubris. She just really, and the stuff she said about Trump, I thought was completely unfounded. Like, you don't have to like everything he's done, but to say like you regret telling people to vote for him and he's the biggest disappointment, like what'd she say? The biggest political disappointment ever. She wasn't joking. Even if everything she's saying about Macron is true, that Trump called her is true. I mean, she's saying all this crap about Trump, and then Trump calls her and he's like, "Oh, go on your podcast." I mean, you don't think someone told him, like, dude, she just freaking insulted the living daylights out of you on her show? I don't know. Anyway, there is something that happens when people start to believe their own press and they get too big for their britches. They could become detached from reality and maybe, some level of humility. And, it happens to the best of us. I've seen it. None of us are immune to it. I'm not immune to it, potentially. I mean, one day if I start making bank on this show, I might become a real arrogant dude. More so than I already am. Just kidding. Just kidding. I will always do my best to insulate against that because I've seen and worked with people that didn't. And I understand you got a lot of pressure on you and you have a standard and you get really uptight and some people get really anxious if they're worried that what's being produced under their name isn't of a certain standard, like it's going to ruin your name. But everybody just needs to take a step back. But I've seen it happen. And believe me, I have been, this sounds weird, but because of the struggle and the challenge to get this show to a place of like large audience and revenue, because that process has been so humbling, it will take a long, 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 long time as a financial success, if that ever happens, before I will ever, let my guard down about, staying humble. You know what I'm saying? There's just too much. There's too much, baggage that's happened there. Like, So, but those other people out there that have risen meteorically, I would say, like Candace, as someone who's very young and has done really well. It can be difficult. It can be difficult. So, anyway, that being said,
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
all right, got Rosie O'Donnell talking about how she just went into a deep depression after Trump was elected the second time.
During his first go round, it was very difficult, and I got myself into some bad places. I was very, very depressed. I was overeating. I was over drinking. I was so depressed, Chris. I can't, it hurt my heart that America believed the lies about him. And then it broke my heart to be in a business that creates and sells those lies for profit. It was very heavy, to tell you the truth. During his first.
All right. So that was the first time around. I'm sorry, not the second time. She went into depression, overeating, over drinking, and it got very heavy, she said. I don't know if she was talking about her butt or just the situation, but either way, they both got heavy.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Poor Rosie, I tell you. All right, we're back, Lord willing, Thursday at, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start doing this show. We're going to get back on with Died Suddenly. And so we're going to try this slot of noon to 2 Central. Is that right? No. I don't freaking remember. 3 to 6 Eastern, which is 2 to 5. Yeah, so I think noon to 2. So we may be back in the noon to 2 time slot back in it. I don't think we've ever done a show at that time. That's what we're shooting for because we can be on the Died Suddenly feed. We'll see. But we'll be on sometime Thursday afternoon, whether it's straight up 1 p.m. Eastern or noon Central or a little bit later. I don't know. But here, look, there's a way you can know for sure, and that is by being part of the Ike Nation Locals group. It's free, but I post in there when we're going to be live. So IkeNation.locals.com, IkeNation.locals.com. If you're watching on Rumble, it's that red join button. It's free. And so you will be able to check it out for all the announcements for when we're going to be live. But it will be Thursday. And at this point, I'm thinking it'll be noon to 2 p.m. Central or 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We may settle into that spot on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're going to try it out and see what works. That's kind of where it's at. I don't know where we're going to end up on this whole thing. I know that I'm looking at other things to try to make money. I've got, these appearances continue to come at me. Newsmax is still inviting me to Israel in August. I don't know if I'm going to do it. There's a lot of things up in the air. It's a daily prayerful item. And, so next week I could say, hey, I'm done. There's a new opportunity that's going to take me in this direction. Or it might be like, hey, we landed some opportunity. I don't know. It's very open-ended, which is exciting, but also extremely unsettling. And so that's the state of limbo that my mind is in, like a rubber band all day, every day. It just is what it is. So I just have always been very transparent with you about what's going on. And so we're trying to settle into some predictable routine things, but I don't know if that's going to be the case long term. I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for bearing with me. Please join that IkeNationLocals.com locals group so you can then know what's going to happen. So, all right. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. Remember, never stop being a free and critical thinker because the truth is always worth it. See you Thursday.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to the Ike Wingate Show.